Got a question. Does it take you guys as long to make a video as it does me? I'm trying to do LowBuckPrepper's 3,000 sub contest / giveaway, and Charlie won't shut up. I got the hatchet right there for him. Yeah, I'd get hatcheted if I killed that bird by my wife. Anyway, 3,000 sub contest, which I apparently can't get through without some kind of interruption. Oh, coffee's so good in the morning. Just like that Otis Redding song, Cigarettes and Coffee. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, in the backyard, and talking about 3 things you'd want to add to your preps. Going through the preps, you know, most important on our list is probably security, number 1, and it shouldn't be. It should be food and water for everybody, but without the proper security, you're not going to be able to maintain food and water. So our security measures could be bumped up a little bit, but speaking of food and water, one of the things that we want the most of all, or that we need the most of all, is a canning system. I don't have a pressure canner. I don't have canning jars. And man, looking at Preppin' Junkie's video about a year ago or so, she showed her garage and all her storage of jars, of Mason style jars, and wow, talk about being envious. That was awesome. PJ, Preppin' Junkie has that video out, and it's amazing how much cans, how much jars and canning equipment she has. It's so awesome, and that's one thing, you know, usually I'm not envious of anybody. You can have a tank, I don't care. But speaking of canning systems, Preppin' Junkie has it down. It's so awesome. She's got some great videos on how to pressure can and how to jar some of these foods for food preservation. That's number 1 on our list. Number 1, you need to have food. And we have tons of canned food, tons of dried goods, tons of seeds stored up. But, you know, if you want something specific, if you can't go to the grocery store, you're not going to have it. And that's why I think pressure canning is so important. And one of the things we truly need, because, you know, I can't give you a good example right now off the top of my head, but, you know, we all have our favorite foods. And if something goes south here in the U.S. or across the world, whatever you want to call it, we're not going to have access to those specialty foods that we really enjoy. And canning is one way to put away anything that you want pretty much forever, indefinitely. And you'll always have your favorite meal, let's say 20 years from now, when things might not be so fortunate for us power-wise. So a pressure canner, canning jars, I think are the one thing that we haven't invested in that we really need to. That's number 1. Number 2 would be a way to get water. Now behind our properties here, there's these big water basins that hold pond water, and they're full of pond scum and cattails and stuff like that. And they attract a lot of ducks, a lot of geese, a lot of small animals. So getting some of those animals and harvest them shouldn't be that hard. Well, I know for a fact it's not that hard. But on top of that, that water's coming from somewhere. And here in California, in the valley, in the Central Valley, we're pretty much smack dab in the center of California. Nothing but orchards. And on the outskirts of our property out here, it's hard to see because of the fog, but there's nothing but almond orchards out here, and orange orchards, and apple orchards, and vineyards. There's plenty of produce and food to be had, but water has to flow to these places through irrigation systems to grow this much produce here in California. So there's a ton of water. You just need to find it. And behind our properties here, there's several like bulkheads for wells that go in the ground that they tap into during the summertime, and they attach the fittings and they pump water right out of the ground, of course, to irrigate these crops. And all this stuff is right back here behind our properties. And sometimes you'll be walking along one of these, not even in the orchard back there, but just walking along one of these dirt fields, and up from the ground there'll be a bulkhead fitting with a flag on it or something. And you take off the bulkhead fitting, and you know that underneath the ground there's going to be water at whatever depth. Well, a pond pump A manually hand cranking pond pump is what I'm looking for. And they're about 20 bucks through Harbor Freight for the little ones. I really want an old one to rebuild, an old cast iron one, but just can't seem to find one, at a reasonable price. So that's another thing too. A pond pump, a well pump, a manually hand cranking well pump would be number 2, and that would supply us with water for our family. There's tons of water to be had out here. I guess our water table is pretty low, so digging or drilling your own well in my location probably wouldn't be feasible, but there's plenty of wells already dug, so to speak, through these irrigation lines, if you know what you're looking for and you know where they're at. And some are anywhere from 100 yards from the house to a mile or so back behind the house. And but there's plenty of them. The only problem is getting that water out of the ground. You can't use a bucket that holds 8-inch pipe, whatever. Maybe I can use a coffee can and a long rope to pull them out, but that's not going to really be feasible. So what we're looking for is an old cast iron hand pump for number 2 to get water for the family. And number 3, there's a million things we all need and we all want. I don't know. That's a tough decision. I guess number 3 would be fuel. And the reason why I say fuel is because, a lot of people say, things go south, things go bad. I'm going to jump in the truck, head up to the mountains and go shoot a deer, go shoot this animal, that animal. But the bottom line is that, if there's no government interference and you can go to the mountains and shoot these animals, you're still going to need fuel for your vehicles, for your bug-out vehicles, for whatever. So, storage container with fuel, a hand crank pump, and a pressurized canning system with jars are the 3 things that we at this house need the most, that I think that would be the most efficient, the most appropriate things that we need at this time. I can show you my ammunition, my stockpile. I can show you my security systems and my weapons. I can show you a lot of things, but if things do go south, we're going to need a way to pull the water from the ground. We're going to need a way to start canning this stuff now, while we still have the opportunity to can. And fuel would be a great additive, even if it's 100 gallons of fuel. Just any amount of fuel in a storage container would be great to have. So those are the 3 things I'd like to have to add to my supply, so to speak, here at this household. So thanks, LowBuck. Thank you very much for this opportunity to do your 3,000 sub contest. I'm sure you'll have a lot more soon. It's hard to believe that 3,000 people want to watch your ugly mug. You got that right on the money. But I know why they do. I've met you in real life, and I know exactly why people want to see you and why people want to be around you. You and Kat, you guys are great people, genuine, honest, awesome people. I can't say enough good things about you too. So thanks, and you can ship the 100 gallons of fuel to my address, which is 274